Okay, we're going to be going over the player menu, dealing with controls and whatnot. You're probably wondering, why would I make a video tutorial about this? Well, it's pretty simple. My understanding is that from some of the people on the forums that the early access games tend not to have a fully well functional system. But this game does. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over them. So we have our single player, and then we have our multiplayer online. Now the multiplayer online, when you go into it, allows you the selection of the areas that you're going to be at, and then you would be able to connect to them. You can choose to find a game or create it. Up here, as you can see, it's got a custom player name. What you do is that you highlight it, hit enter, hit the enter button, and then as you can see, it is changed. And then what you do is you type in the name you're going to use, and then there you go. And that's how you change your name in the multiplayer function. You can go ahead and see if you could try to find games in it, but that's pretty much a self-explanatory thing. But we'll go ahead. As you can see, there's one in process. Or you can go back and, like I said, create your own. When you create the game, you will get players that will eventually jump in and join in, and that'll be up on your server. During the process of this, you can choose the maximum players. Certain functions are out of order because basically you got to remember this is early stages of the game, and at the time that this video was made is for early access time period, to help those that are already in here that have the game, so that they can be able to play it. In this section here is the settings. You have your controls, graphics, and languages. Languages, depending on what country you're from or what you speak, will be found in here that they have available. The graphics, even though that when it prompts you have a resolution choice and detail choice, this here takes care of the extra detailed environment stuff that is within the game. Because some people will be like, well, I got this graphics card and it could do this and that, and I got all, and what they forget is that there is stuff within the game that their graphics card may not be able to do, because not all graphics cards are equal. Like, for example, I'm using a VisionTek. So my VisionTek is an AMD ATI Radeon, but it's not Radeon as in a Radeon card. Radeon cards have difficulties doing certain events that are involved in games, and tends not to run them well. But the VisionTek can not only run everything that's in this list, but its memory capability, as it is stated, can also expand. So even though it's 2 gigs, it will take more from the system board as it is needed. However, though, the clock does not meet the ability that is for it, so therefore it tends to lag. And as you can see, I have certain things that are on and certain things that are off. So you can come in here and change those. This is important because if it's lagging in your single player mode, it'll be worse in your multiplayer mode. So you would come here and adjust what you need on and what you need off. The best time to do this is in game, because when you're in the game, you can actually see and adjust as the environment around you. We will get back to that. In here is controls, and in the controls section you have a keyboard, mouse, and controller, and you have your actions, since this is common, and then you have your key assignments. Now keep in mind that anything that is assigned here. For example, I have submit, it says right shift, it says keyboard enter. But there's a slot to assign it to the mouse as well as the controller. So what will happen is that if you assign a number of items to the same function, you could get a conflict, and therefore you may have to go through it to adjust it accordingly. So let's say if you don't want to use a certain key, then you would click on it and have it removed. If you wish to assign the key, you would click it and then install and then put it in. And that's just for the example. In the controller section, you will see these things here with circles. What these are is these work off of the analog sections on any controller. Now, I'm using a Logitech Attack 3 joystick for driving the vehicle, so I have nothing here. I don't use Xbox, PlayStation style type keypads. So when I use this only for driving, and I use my keyboard for walking. And as you can see, I've reassigned everything for my arrows, because my arrow keys is what I've always used over the years. I don't use WASD keys. And for certain other things, I have assignments like I could space jump, which is usually common, but I could also do this on the right mouse button. And my fire is 1. So when you go to assign things, take a look between here and here and here to where your assignments are to make sure that there's nothing there to conflict. You can also choose your player to work off of the analog movement if this may be needed. So when you go to assign something, be careful what you select, because you just might get it. In the vehicle section, the same thing, just like the other two sections, you can do. But as you see, since my joystick is assigned here, I have more button functions doing more things. Now, up here where the stick is, as you can see, we have the circle that's in use. I have assigned my steering here. I basically just clicked on it, and then when I went to assign it, I turned left or right, and the game was able to register it. So far, I had reassigned to a Thrustmaster Xbox style type controller and a G29 PlayStation car controller that I borrowed. And during the testing, they worked. The pedals were found and discovered for the car functions and whatnot. And the functions on the keyboard were also working. So that's how you would set up your controls, is through here. You can do your calibrations besides your characters and whatnot. So you pretty much are getting the idea of what this is. So we're going to go ahead and move on here. Now what you do is that you will enter the game and then go ahead, especially if it begins to lag bad. This is where those functions become important. So we go to our settings and our graphics. Now how things will set will determine what's going on. So let's say we're going to turn all this stuff on just to show you. That's on. Okay. Now as you can see, the clouds have detail and everything. And the environment has much more going on with it between the shaders and stuff. But we got ourselves a slight lag that's going on. So when you're sitting here looking at it, what you want to do is just get in here and kind of like fine tune it for your system to work the best. And for me, this actually works the best. And that's what the purpose of that is for. It's to build to help you to get a much more fine-tuned system that works the best for you. Now also in here, what you have is like a help commands. This is to help reset vehicle in front of the character or teleport the vehicle to the start point. I haven't used these because whenever I leave to my vehicle I go back. This is probably, I'm guessing, to reset you with your vehicle or wherever your start point is. But this pretty much covers the player menu and the stuff that you will find inside. So have fun out there.